Hello, this is Tarantino Takes Over Sky Movies. I'm your host, Quentin Tarantino. Tonight's movie that I chose is Martin Scorsese's masterpiece, Taxi Driver. Now, not only is this, unarguably one of the greatest movies ever made, definitely, absolutely, positively, unarguably one of the greatest movies of the 70s, if not the greatest. And it's also one of my top 5 favorite movies. Whew. What to say about Taxi Driver hasn't already been said. What to say about Taxi Driver that's profound that you can read in Paul and Kale? Well, I'll do my best. One of the things about Taxi Driver that is just so magnificent, as I actually do feel that it may be the greatest first-person character study ever committed to film. I mean, I really actually can't even think of a second or a third or a fourth that can even come into contention with it. Scorsese, at this time of his career, had a connection to cinema, and there was, no matter how dark the material was, there was such an exuberance to filmmaking that I don't know if anyone will ever quite have the run of films that he had in the 70s leading into the 80s. Truth be told, actually, my favorite director of the movie Brats was not Scorsese. I loved him, but my favorite director of the movie Brats was Brian De Palma, and I actually met De Palma in the right after I had done Reservoir Dogs, and I was very beside myself, and we were sitting, and I was sitting there talking to him about cinema and stuff, and he talked about the friendly competition that he would enjoy with Scorsese, and he talked about making Scarface, and he's making this epic, and he thinks he's doing one of his best works ever. And during the shooting of Scarface, Raging Bull comes out, and so he goes and sees Raging Bull at the theater, and then it just starts off with that opening credit shot of that classical music playing in slow motion, and the big wide shot of the ring, and Jake LaMotta there just bouncing in slow motion in his robe. And he talked about, no matter what you do, no matter how good you are, there's always Scorsese. There's always Scorsese challenging you right there. And that was Scorsese at this time. One of the things about Taxi Driver that is just, to me, so amazing is not only is it this wonderful character study of this, to put it lightly, troubled individual. What's so fascinating about the character study is it truly puts you in the point of view of this man. If you've ever been lonely and lived in a ghetto area, and it's easy to feel Travis Bickle's kind of feelings of all alone me versus my environment. And the movie actually encourages that kind of empathy with a very questionable character. You see through his eyes so strongly. I mean, like, from one of the criticisms that was labeled against the movie when it first came out, which was wrong but very understandable for a lot of viewers to mistake, is the fact that the film was racist. Actually, the film is not racist at all, but it is a movie about a racist. Not only is it a movie about a racist, it's a first-person study of a movie about a racist. So actually, you do see the world through Travis Bickle's eyes, and through those eyes, he makes, the black pimps and the black characters on the street, they are repellent. And he flinches away from them at all times. And since you are looking through his eyes, you do as well. One of the things that actually could be crippling for the movie, and thematically, you could even say it's the film's big flaw, which actually by the end of the movie doesn't turn out to be. But thematically, you could say the film's compromise is that for all of Travis Bickle's racism, when it kind of comes down to taking out a gun and shooting people, he doesn't shoot any black people. That the flesh merchants happen to be all white, and the pimp actually is a white pimp, which, frankly, is highly unlikely in that world. Not that there weren't such thing as white pimps, but it is highly unlikely that Iris's pimp would be white, and it is highly unlikely that when Bickle does come to bear arms, he would bear them against white people as opposed to black people who have the same job. Having said that, what could be a crippling, what's the word I'm looking for? Contrivance. What could be a crippling contrivance ends up not being that. For one reason. Harvey Keitel. His performance is so magnificent as the pimp sport, and his work with De Niro is of such an exquisite nature, as well as his work with Jodie Foster, which actually is about the only sequence in the movie that is not told from Travis Bickle's perspective. Their dance scene is of such quality, and his work as sport is so magnetic and strangely personable that actually what could be a crippling contrivance isn't. It just goes away. Not only that, you can't imagine Taxi Driver without Harvey Keitel. What would that be? Some of the other qualities about Taxi Driver is with such a forward thrust of this first person character, one of the things that's so fascinating about it is all the other little bits that find itself in the movie, bits that are completely at odds with this tone of a madman's diary, which is more or less what we're dealing with here. For instance, some of the favorite bits in the film are the little scenes between Sybil Shepherd and Albert Brooks. And when those moments happen, I think in the 70s, the first thing you thought of was the front page, because it has that kind of snappy patter. But then later, it's impossible now to watch it with all of a sudden without thinking broadcast news has all of a sudden, shown up in Times Square, and little scenes, quick witty scenes from broadcast news have somehow inserted themselves into Taxi Driver. And I think it's obvious that for me as a filmmaker, I'm a lover of turning on a dime, and that's definitely a situation where that happens.